Welcome to the VET S.O.S. podcast. Remember, don't drown the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S. Lifeline. VET S.O.S. is brought to you by the Who You Know Network. Today, we're sitting down with JMach, veteran podcaster, mental health advocate. JMach has a great show and is doing some absolutely amazing things for our community, the way he supports it. Can't wait to jump into this conversation and really get behind what he's doing there. Dropping the backbone bass beat for us. I'm here with Keith. What's up, brother?
The backbone bass. I'd say I'm keeping the groove steady, making sure we don't skip a beat, ready to lay down some wisdom and maybe a few questionable dance moves with you. There. How's that?
Very nice, very nice.
I don't know.
I should really practice saying these after I come up with writing them. I was probably still laughing.
I should start looking at them ahead of time. Wait, that's probably not a good thing to say because you do all these show notes, and I just admitted that I don't even look at them.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. The truth is out. All right.
Oh, I'm getting fired. All right. This will be the second time I got fired.
Yeah, yeah. Not the first time. All right. All right. So we're sitting down with Joshua JMach. He's a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, podcast host, and mental health advocate dedicated to changing the conversation around veteran and first responder mental health. He's a founder and host of the JMach Podcast, a raw, unfiltered platform where stories of struggle, healing, and resilience come to life. Whether it's on the podcast at live community events or through his work with the Sandbox, JMach is all about building connection, breaking stigma, and reminding people your mental health matters and you're not alone. Can't emphasize that statement alone right there. You're not alone. That is one of those that we continuously harp. Love seeing it there, man. How you doing today, JMach?
I'm doing well, brothers. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh man, excited to sit down with you. We met roughly a year ago at the MIC.
Yes,
took us a little while to coordinate a date, but we finally got here. But before we jump into the podcast and the work you're doing, man, tell us about your transition. How did your transition out of the Marine Corps go?
So I thought it was going smooth until 7 years later, and I realized it wasn't. Right? Let's see. When I first got out, I had plans of becoming a police officer, which I'm really grateful that it didn't turn out because it would be terrible to be a cop in Phoenix just because of the heat, But yeah, so I got out. The month I got out, I met my now wife, so I've been trapped ever since, happily trapped. Then I bought a dirt bike on the convincing of my brother, and the second time I rode it, I crashed it, had a grade 5 AC joint separation, and so I just threw becoming a cop out the window after I had surgery. And I've been trying to find myself ever since, and it went down a deep, dark rabbit hole, definitely, for sure, which actually led into the light in my life of starting the podcast and all that. I ended up going to therapy for years and just talking about it. And yeah, dude, I think no matter where you are in life, you should definitely go to therapy, and you should probably start before you hit that transition because you need to prep yourself for it, because the transition is a huge role that you don't even understand what's about to come to you. I remember getting ready to get out, and my gunny told me, like, what are you going to do? And I told him, and he's like, yeah, you're just going to end up getting fat again. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? I was like, there's no way I'm going to have more time. I'll be able to go to the gym twice a day now instead of just once a day, and XYZ. And well, unfortunately, he was right.
No one ever said it to me. I did that all on my own. So yeah, I'm just a go-getter in that sense, I guess. Your story is not foreign. I mean, Keith was a wannabe police officer at one point as well. But I'm listening to your story, and just the way you lay it out and the way you present it, there's obviously some humor in there, and you're rolling with it and some of the things you had to deal with. And I just started thinking to myself, yeah, if we have a bitter divorce guy, listening to this, he's going to say, it wasn't a transition. You got married, and then you went to counseling, and then this, and then this, and then that. I'm just saying, there could be some other ties there. But I do joke, as someone who's been happily trapped for 25 years, it's there's definitely some up and down, but that's part of the marriage life, right? So
yeah, my wife definitely led me into counseling. All right, like there's no doubt about that. But it was to just better me so I could be a better man and husband and now father.
Yep, absolutely. So how long have you been married?
5 years.
Here's a test.
That, yeah.
Don't
I
ask
can
the
tell you
date.
my
I don't
kids'
know if I'll pass
birthdays,
it.
my kids' names, how old they are, but then I haven't been asked how long I've been married for in a long time, so it took me a second.
Whenever I get asked that, like I'm checking in somewhere, and for whatever reason, like my wife checking my, what they're like, what's your wife's birth date or whatever, and I'm like, I get brownie points for that, right? Like, I didn't even hesitate on that bad boy.
For
Uh,
sure.
Oh man. So, um, the police career didn't work out. So what led you to wanting to start a podcast? How did that whole transition happen?
Therapy. Uh, so I had one of my Marine Corps buddies posted a meme that said, "Stop doing the push-ups and pick up the phone and call your buddy." And I was like, "Oh, great idea." And so then I just recently met a family friend who was a professional baseball player, and he had like a radio segment. So I pitched it to him, but due to liability reasons, he said no. So I was talking to my therapist that I had this idea, da 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 da, and she tried to convince me to go live in her office right then and there, telling my friends and family that this is what I was going to start. I told her like, "Now you're the crazy one. Let's switch chairs here." But I did go home and record the video and post it. So Veterans Day of 2020 is when I roughly started the podcast. And I started it because I don't want people to feel the ways I felt, as well as I want people to realize that they're not alone. I feel like everything in this world recently or the past few years have been all about segregating us and separating us. And I'm not about that. I want to bring us all back together.
I can definitely appreciate that. We live in a crazy time right now. You say the sky's blue, someone's going to argue with you.
For sure.
There is no common ground anymore. All right, so tell us about the podcast. What is this all about?
Yeah, so JMach's podcast mission is to combat veteran and first responder suicide one story, one conversation at a time, while reminding everybody that they're not alone. I got real tired of going to like different mental health resources and communities, but unless you fit the niche, you wouldn't be allowed there. But now we're talking about mental health and someone struggling, and it really put a perspective in my eyes why veterans in the VA system would go to the parking lot and just finish their tour right there due to like being rejected or turned away. How can you be for mental health, but they'll tell someone you can't help them because they don't fit a niche, right? Um, I lost your question. I'm so sorry.
This what led to starting the podcast, and I don't know. My question was,
just
what's the
about the
podcast?
podcast.
Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
podcast? We already did the other one. What's the podcast about? So
Yeah, so say you came on the podcast, Shawn or Keith, we would start with your story. Honestly, I'd start with asking how you gentlemen are doing. Then you give me the bullshit answer of living the dream or whatever, and I'll ask you the follow-up question, how are you actually doing? Now, how are you really doing? And then we start the conversation. I touch on childhood, what led you to join the military if were in the military, any coping mechanisms, healthy or unhealthy, any traumas you're willing to share. I like to hit on the transition as well because that's a huge struggle. And then up to like what they're doing now and anything they want to talk about. I feel like being able to talk about our childhood is where all our traumas started. And we may be reacting to what we think is from the military, right? But that's just a compounded traumas. The way we're reacting and responding to things now is from what we learned or did not learn as a child. And that's also why my networking group is called the Sandbox, because our trauma started in the sandbox. I felt like I hate wording it this way, but I'm just going to. I feel like I had trauma from not going to the sandbox and failing my mission of joining the Marine Corps because I didn't see war or fight overseas or anything like that. So I felt like I failed my mission. And up until recently, I've been able to retrain my brain and thought process that my calling and purpose of joining the Marine Corps wasn't to fight the war overseas, but to fight the war we face once we get back home. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
that's a fantastic mindset, man. It's important to be able to one to give back, and the fact that you found a purpose and you're pursuing that. So I absolutely love it, Keith. What do you think?
No, it's good stuff. And yeah, and the fact that you're walking it out, even while you're talking to other people about it. Um, yeah, and well, the living, sorry, I got to come on to the living the dream, because actually I do say that, and then people are like, that sounds awesome. And I'm like, well, nightmares are dreams too. Um, but, and honestly, so I always try to come to the table with a few preloaded questions, and you actually just answered one of them, because I was going to ask kind of, because basically, like, you're so in depth and entrenched in this community and this topic. I wanted to know, like, what was the one mental health question that you think like nobody's asking and should be asking? And I'll let you change the answer if you want, but it sounds like you hit it already, which is, how are you really doing, right? Which is so critically important. So, a lot of that comes from, the suck it up mentality, and how we're just, it's ingrained, even if a lot of us get ingrained with it beforehand. My dad was a Marine, and he was stubborn, and he ingrained a lot of that mentality in me. Men don't cry, and all this other kind, bottle up the emotions and all that, suck it up, drink water type stuff. So just kind of curious, like, we always, you're going through this journey. We're all going through this journey. What's a mental health myth or toxic lesson even that you still, even now, are catching yourself battling, or struggling with?
Truthfully, it's the men don't cry.
Mm,
And I know it takes a stronger man to cry, but then I got this weird mindset confliction where, all right, now I'm trying to be the leader, so I can't cry, but it's okay for everyone else to cry. And I fully support that. And I'm just going to let you know, I want to cry like a little baby back sometimes. However, I have not been able to find the ways to fully allow myself to cry, because as soon as two or three tears start trickling down, it like dries up and goes away, like without even a conscious thought of like, hey, men don't cry, or hey, this or that. I'm literally saying it's okay, cry, it's okay. But I still haven't found the way to allow myself. And I do believe that it's a great question that like isn't being asked, is how you're really doing. But to counter that, I think it's more important for you to lead the charge by saying how you're really doing. So when
mm,
somebody asks you how you're doing, just flat up be straight up honest with them and say, look, hey, I'm struggling with XYZ, but I'm handling it with ABC, right? Because it's not always our people see our highlight reels, and that's all they really know us about, except for the select few that we truly let in, because on social media, on the podcast, we're showing the best version of ourselves, right? But that's not how life always is, ever. So we got to be willing to be brave enough to be the one in the spotlight saying, yeah, dude, I am struggling, I am hurting, but being strong enough to not only express that, but to show how you're working your way out of that, or how you're pushing through it. There's a word I can't say, so I'm going to butcher it. It's carpentamalize. I can't say that word.
compartmentalized. Yeah.
Yep, I hate that word. Sometimes that's an extremely hard challenge to make happen, right? And you just are sulking in whatever you're feeling or thinking about. And it's not okay to just sit in it forever. It's okay to sit in it, feel in it, and let it go. But we also have to show how we're doing that, right? Because if you're just showing, oh, Keith's out here, he's actually living the dream. I want to live just like him. But they don't know what your thoughts are. They don't know what your dreams truly are. And they could be wishing for something that they're 10 years past and they're not struggling with it anymore. But just because you present yourself as such a strong um, man, such a strong individual, that they don't understand that you're struggling. And that's why I like with my podcast hitting from childhood till now, because it takes the cover. We can stop judging each other from our cover, and like, oh man, he went through this as a child and he felt insecure, he felt alone, abandoned, XYZ. I feel like that really relates us to one another again, and helps it makes it easier to break down the barriers of communication and being able to talk to each other.
Absolutely. I did 20 years in Intel, and I still can't say that word. And I did security clearances, so it's um the I forgot what else I was going to say. There was something you hit on that really struck a nerve, but I got stuck thinking about that stupid word.
Compartmentalized. uh, Sorry, now I'm trying to think of something, and it escaped me, but it was totally unrelated. So I love what you're doing. I love the conversations you're having. And you've had some, gone and listened to some of your episodes, and you've had some really, you know, deep episodes, some awesome comeback stories. so far in your experience in your journey, what's like one of those, and I'll use air quotes, solutions that you've come across that just we keep hearing it, but it doesn't work, and why? Why would you? If there was something we could get rid of that's just not working, we keep hearing it, what would it be?
Oof. Man, that's a challenging question. Let's see.
Oh, sorry.
Uh, that therapy fixes all, that prescription
Mm,
medicine is the cure. Well,
mm,
first, if you're doing either, I feel like you need to be doing both. I also feel that medicine is a band aid. We'll say medicine is the band-aid, and you're also going to need the neosporin to heal that wound, right? And that could be therapy. But therapy looks all sorts of different ways. Therapy is not just traditional talk therapy. It could be equine therapy where you're working with horses, or you're out with your community is huge. Get yourself out of the house. Isolation definitely kills.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I love the fact that we're finally studying the impacts of isolationism and really coming out with, seeing how deadly that is. I do remember what I was going to say. And Keith, you made a George Carlin reference before in a previous episode, um, telling people how you really feel. That was another George Carlin joke,
Yeah.
about really letting them see the whole picture. And,
Uh-huh.
you can't help but think, how interesting the workplace would be in the civilian sector if you start telling them how you're really feeling.
Yeah. Eh,
So,
yeah, and you're dead on, right? Like, I mean, I don't think I'm God's gift to anything, but I get a few likes here and there, and yeah, I mean, you make a good point. Like, I don't know if I've really ever talked. I mean, I've talked about some substance abuse issues in the past, but like, yeah, I've got a psychiatrist. I go to counseling other than my psychiatrist. I'm on certain types of medication, and yeah, like I'm willing to say it. I maybe don't preach it from the rooftops nearly as much. So it's like, yeah, I love the shirt, and I own one from Till Valhalla, the company Till Valhalla, and it just says, "Be kind. Everyone is battling something that you know nothing about." Right? And
absolutely.
we all have those moments of struggles and weaknesses and doubts and fears, and I don't care who you are. Every time somebody, even in the celebrity community, takes their own life, like a big name actor or something, it just reinforces to me that yeah, we're all human and none of us are doing okay. I hate to say it in some ways. None of us have it all together, and we need to be talking about this kind of stuff. Um, so what would you say for the families, right? You mentioned you're happily tied down. I've been happily tied down. Well, I've been happily tied down once. I've been tied down twice. But child and being a dad now, for the family members, what is something that you would like for them to know, to maybe keep in mind or consider when they're in a relationship with somebody who's battling trauma or depression, and what should they keep in mind and how can they help?
To be supportive, uh, because it's going to suck. Let's just be honest. If someone's struggling with mental health, it's going to suck for everyone around them because hurt people, and that's not necessarily intentional, right? It's just, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, so I'm going to lash out. And then don't always take things personal, right? Like, you may be the one that's getting the brunt of it. Well, first of all, if you're getting hit or anything like that, like you need to step out of that situation and you need to seek the help. I'm not talking about that level, right? But like just verbal lashings, right? Like yelling or getting mad or like a short fuse. It's not necessarily you, right? It's whatever they're battling and what's in their mind. Just be there and be supportive for them. Also, start learning about the signs, the symptoms, and all that of whatever disorder or trauma or whatever they're suffering from. Like, so if they're depressed, if they have PTSD, XYZ, read about it, learn about it so you can educate yourself so you can show up better for them. And also, you need to show up for yourself to protect your own mental sanity when someone's going through that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And so to me, one of the most liberating things that I experienced as a leader and as a person was when I made the decision to start telling my soldiers about, anger management issues and how I was going to counseling and what have you. One, you setting the example as a senior leader, because everybody's always scared that's going to impact your career and whatever, and okay, whatever. Um, but setting that example, but then also being able to relate to them and show them that, look, I'm going through some things as well as you are. We all have our own things that we deal with, and there are ways to get the help. So how would you encourage someone who hasn't been willing to share their story, or is scared to come out and say what they're struggling with? How would you encourage them to tell their story?
What's the definition of bravery? Being scared and doing it anyways. So you just got to get out there and start talking about it. I'm not saying divulge everything at once, right? Like, because it could be like diarrhea of the mouth at that point. And sometimes, if you're not ready to talk about it, you're going to say words or say something that you don't necessarily mean, but it's going to come out across so extreme to somebody else. Baby steps, just one thing at a time. Work your way there. And I feel like how you said, Shawn, that you started to talk to your soldiers about it. I feel like it could potentially have taken the shame off of you that you were subconsciously holding on to because you're trying to hide it from everyone. Now you're brave enough and willing to talk about it in front of everyone. So you're not only helping yourself, you're helping everyone around you. And don't expect whoever you're telling to have the best reaction, right? They're going to judge, they're going to be scared, they're going to have all their feelings as well. But that doesn't mean what you're saying is wrong or that you're wrong for talking about what you're going through. We also have to find the correct individuals to share with. It's not always okay to share everything with everybody, especially even if it's like your business plans, your goals in life, your expectations. Because if you're sharing it with someone that doesn't have those mindsets, those dreams or beliefs, and if you're sharing it with family, they're going to want to try to protect you, and their own insecurities and fears are going to come out, and it's going to end up hindering you from moving forward or slowing you down because you're sharing with the wrong people. Not that your family's the wrong family, it's just that they don't have the right mindset to support you to where you need to go or want to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. A lot of times it's done from a place of love, but it might be with a lack of understanding about your current situation or whatever. I mean, you, I know I've experienced that. I don't know about you, Keith.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And therein lies, yeah, I mean, there's a time and place for everything, right? And we have to find who's in that, that safe space, and that's why I am such an advocate for professional counseling. Like, I mean, everybody should be in counseling, in all honesty,
I
because we
agree.
all we all have those struggles, yeah, and sometimes our, parents, they can't handle it, or our siblings, whatever it might be. Like, we can't tell everybody everything necessarily. I mean, there are some people you can, but again, within that space of the professional scene, they're there to help and not judge. And even then, I'll even say, like, I go to therapy and stuff, and I've shopped some, not all therapists are created equal. And you gotta, and I'm not saying they're bad, but maybe they're just not, I'm not clicking with them. We're just not connecting for whatever reason. It's okay. I had someone very close to me that recently experienced that, where they went to counseling, and they're a recently separated veteran, and they experienced some horrific things in uniform. And so they went to counseling one time, and they're like, that was horrible. Never, like, they were horrible. And I'm like, keep going. Like, not to them, but go find somebody else. Keep shopping around until you find the right. And now they found somebody who they love. They look forward to counseling, and they're doing a million times better. And the stigma, it's just, we got to get rid of that stigma that it's a sign of weakness and all that other stuff. Like you said, it's bravery, right? It is
Absolutely.
a it is a hell of a lot more hard. It's harder to say I need help than it is to bottle it up and suck it up and drive on. So I'm
Yeah,
rambled.
because when you suck it up and bottle it up, you get to be angry and you get to bring that aggression and anger that we got trained in the military or from our childhood, and we get to bring that out. But is that really the person, the leader, the man you want to be? For
Yeah.
me, it's not. And I do feel like the hardest part is finding the right therapist more than it is to open up to that therapist, right? And it's hard enough to go to therapy and then you get a bad one or a bad 2 or 3 to start with, and you're like, man, therapy doesn't work. Therapy's bullshit. Therapy's whatever. That's not the case. You just need to be more selective. For the longest time, I'd go to a therapist that was an elderly woman, so for I could get that grandmother feel, so I could feel supported and safe. But I recognized that that style of therapist, when I hit that wall, if you encourage me, I'm going to blow right through it like a Mack truck will, right? But if you give me the leeway, oh, it's okay, I'm going to find a way to manipulate myself around that wall and not go through it and do the work. So I'll just an endless cycle of being in therapy. And one last thing about therapy is you better do your homework when you go home. I went years without doing the homework, thinking the one therapy a week or a month or however often I was going was going to be enough to heal me. That's not the case at all. I also don't think we necessarily get healed. I believe we get stronger and we're able to handle it and cope with it and come at it with a different mindset.
I completely agree with you on, finding the best therapist for you and shopping around and trying new things. Like you said, you reached a point where you made a realization there. I remember having to go to one therapist in the military, and she told me I didn't have anger issues. And the first thought in my mind was, I'm going to have to punch this lady in the face to prove my point. Probably wouldn't have gone too well. But so we talked about a little bit about the podcast. Tell us about the Sandbox real quick here before we wrap up.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. So the JMach Sandbox takes the podcast one step further, where we're now meeting in person once a month. But it's more than just networking. I bring in up to 8 different mental health resources throughout our community, whether they're a nonprofit, veteran organization, or supporting veterans and first responders. So that way, not only can you network with other like-minded individuals that are working on or want to improve their mental health, you can find resources and tools while you're there. I also wrap it up with the live podcast recording. That way, everyone can hear 2 veterans or a veteran and a police officer sitting down and sharing their stories, their coping mechanisms, their traumas, their actual life, and having those hard conversations for others to hear, to understand, like, oh, okay, it is okay to start opening up and start sharing these things. You just got to find that right community.
Love it, man. Absolutely love it. Okay, we come down to time again, man.
I know. I hate this. Yeah, this is a topic I can go on. You even caught me rambling there, ranting there, which I very rarely do, I think. But no, this is a great episode. JMach, thank you so much for coming on and sharing just your story as well as what you're doing for our community. It's so vital. It's so needed and necessary. So, um, yeah, I usually have 2 closing questions. You kind of hit everything. I can't even think of one. So I do want to comment though. Uh, I love your backdrop. It looks like you're like in the VIP room of a nightclub somewhere. So not sure where you're at, but it's nice. I was gonna say pimping, but yeah. Anyway, so last question, J Mock, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can find me on JMach Podcast on all social media and streaming sources, jmachpodcast.org. That's JMACH podcast.org. And I'm actually in my garage, and I hate this, right? Well, one, I hate it because it's 95 and there's no air conditioning in here. However, this is the perfect example of a facade, right? It looks all professional and done up. This is one corner, a wall here and a half wall on this side, and then the rest is just clutter, and I'm staring at it, right? So everybody isn't as put together as it may look or that we may come across. So don't belittle yourself or count yourself out or wish you could be where I'm at. You don't even know where I'm at. Worry about yourself, and then you'll surpass me in every which way.
That was an amazing closing. Like I loved it how you highlighted that. That was perfect. So great way to wrap that up. Thank you so much for coming on the show, J-Mock, and
Wait, you took my lead. We screw up his name. It's JMach.
J-Mac. I'm sorry, J-Mac.
I was
My
going to
bad.
apologize because I thought I had an easy name this time, and I still screwed it up.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, I think Mach, like Mach 5, Mach 10, whatever.
Yeah, I get
feel
that
like
a
there's
lot, but thankfully you didn't put a T in there. A lot of people try to pronounce it match, and I'm like, what? But
J-Mac.
gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. I look
Yeah.
forward to staying in contact with you and eventually getting you both on my show as well.
Absolutely.
That'd be
Yeah, I'd be
awesome.
happy to join. So, all right. And on behalf of the entire VET S.O.S family, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. VET S.O.S is growing and spreading its wings. You can follow us on all the social media platforms. Make sure to check out all 4 of our shows now and follow and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts from. We're on YouTube, Reach Across America Radio, and all those other ones out there. They're all out there. And as always, folks, remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline.